There's no doubt that hockey season is right around the corner. The Minnesota Wild open up their season next Thursday, but before that, they hit the tail end of training camp with a two-day practice in Duluth. A sold-out crowd for a brisk night here at the bank as the Vikings' 5-game winning streak comes to a close. It started at 6, and the top finishers are already crossing the finish line. Last week, the Vikings proved that Adrian Peterson and the run game is still their go-to option, but adding to the theory that should open up the pass game for Bridgewater. Earlier this year, Duluth was named a gold-level ride center by the International Mountain Bicycling Association, making it just one of 6 trails worldwide to fit that category. Over Denfeld in the semis. Now, Renee, both teams come in with high-powered offenses. Here's the actual nets that will be on the ice later for tonight's game. Our pregame coverage starts at 6:30. We are still standing outside of the arena, and as you said, there has been a power outage, so the Bulldogs' season opener with Bemidji State has been postponed. Well, Green Bay Packer fans have high expectations, so much so they vent their frustration on Twitter when they see their quarterback Aaron Rodgers throw an interception in practice. Maura Kroll now has 1 full season under her belt as head coach. So how did she do? Was there improvement to that performance-based claim that fired her predecessor, Shannon Miller? Now, this is always an exciting time of year. You have arguably the best section in Class A in the state, with 2 teams that both deserve a trip to St. Paul for the state tournament, but only one team will punch that ticket here tonight. Now, both of these teams have played each other once already this season. Hermantown cruised to a 7-0 win and continues to be rock solid in the playoffs. But just last week, Wild GM Chuck Fletcher said Yo's job was not in jeopardy, but that statement quickly became obsolete. A packed house at Amsoil, Division I recruits on the ice with 2 ranked teams playing each other. That was just the Section 7 AA semifinals game today. Number 12, Elk River Elks, the 3 seed as they're taking on the 2 seed, number 13, Duluth East. Well, just 37 seconds into the game, off the face-off in the Elk zone, Ryan Peterson dings it home from the left side, and it's 1-zip Greyhounds. Well, minutes later, the Hounds tack on another one. Luke Lemaster sends it in. Luke Dow stuffs in the rebound. Over 25 different obstacles to do. The most common, well, it was mud, but the creators say it's just good use of land. More from the mud this Wednesday in the up north. So that's just over 2 miles.
Not what the monitors say?
Yeah.
More from the mud?
Yes, it's just over 2 miles,
Looked
right?
like dirty business.
Yes, and it took me 46 minutes
to
do dirty business.
Just out of curiosity, which shade of makeup is that? Because
mud? Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to look for that.
I made as much of that as possible.
I made it work, didn't I?
Be quick.
When you're the dad of the top 2 scorers in the history of Minnesota high school basketball, rebounding can be an easy gig.
Just since they were probably 4th, 5th grade, we've been in the driveway, in the backyard, anywhere we could find a court. This is what we did.
From the driveway to the gym floor, the Bromans in basketball go hand in hand. At 2 years apart, these brothers combined for over 9,000 points in high school.
I always thought once high school was done that was our last time playing together, our last couple games.
As the state's all-time leading scorer, Anders went to play Division I at South Dakota State. After 2 seasons as a Jackrabbit, a change of scenery became necessary. Meanwhile, his younger brother also committed to going Division I.
We talked about him transferring. I threw out Winthrop kind of jokingly, but at the same time, a little bit serious.
Bjorn kind of threw the idea out there a little bit, and then their coaches contacted me, and it just fell in place from there.
It's been over 2 years since these brothers have played on the same team. And now a package deal, heading to Winthrop University in South Carolina.
Well, that means Mom and Dad just get to travel to 1 spot instead of 2, so it'll definitely make things simpler for us.
The games of one-on-one may never go away.
Good deed.
But the teamwork and just being brothers is back for the better.
Things happen quickly, and you don't want to look back with any regrets. You want to give it your all and let the chips fall where they do.
In Duluth, for Eyewitness Sports, I'm Alec Ausmus. You may have passed it without even knowing it. Tucked away between Interstate 35 and Old Highway 61, there is a diamond that mirrors perfection.
We put volunteer hours in here, but it's a labor of love.
As you see, this field is very, very beautiful.
Hours spent volunteering for some and carrying on a family legacy for others. Denny Brennan lives and breathes baseball at this park, which makes sense when your family name is on the field.
I guess we can blame my grandfather for this whole amateur business, as he was one of the founders back in 1923.
Built by the townspeople right after World War II, Brennan Field was given its name in 1956 in honor of Hinckley resident and amateur baseball pioneer J.M. Brennan. 7 decades later, the field and baseball still go hand in hand.
I think there's too many people that don't even know this things that exist, which is a shame.
Minnesota baseball has deep roots. The Twins, Millers, Saints, and Dukes. Sluggers like Harmon Killebrew and Tony Oliva. But it was town team ball that drew fans across the state. Hinckley and players like Paul Marutis were a part of it.
In the 50s, they did. They had real good baseball. And it was only, I think, Hinckley, Pine City, Quamba, Rush City, and Braham in the league. But everybody had tremendous pitching, and it was tremendous baseball.
The Hinckley Knights are one of the oldest town teams in the state, and over the years have built a winning tradition in amateur baseball.
Well, most of these are state tournament teams that have made it to the state tournament since 1951 was the earliest Hinckley team that made it to the state.
The times have changed, but the atmosphere at the ballpark still has the old-time charm. The dream of the big stage mixed with the reality of a small town. Baseball is in these players' blood, built on tradition and a love for the game. But to play for almost 2 decades, it also takes understanding loved ones.
You know, it takes its toll on the family. You know, a wife kind of hems and haws, when are you done, when are you done? And you just kind of, well, let's play it by ear and see what happens.
And yes, that is my cousin. But his life of the everyday amateur baseball player is a dying breed. Life today gets in the way. The dedication of the golden age is a thing of the past. Those single-minded players are a rare find these days.
It was a lot easier in the mid-'80s through the mid-'90s when we had the same guys show up, probably for every game. You could write the lineup out at the beginning of the season and it would still be the same at the end of the season.
Some players can't get enough of the game. If time means wisdom, then longtime Hinckley Knight Gary McFerrin is as wise as they come. With 40 years of playing under his belt, he finally hung his spikes up this season, but doesn't miss a beat at the Brennan, as his blood is in line to knock it out of the park.
This is where I grew up. Long before I remember anything, this is where I've been. I mean, I can't think of a better place to grow up, be a kid, is at the ballpark.
The players come from all walks of life, fueled by a game they don't know what it's like not to love.
Pretend you could be a 12-year-old boy playing the funnest game ever for 20 years, and that's what I'm doing.
Summers come and go as quick as a fastball, and so do the years, intertwined with the smell of a ball game and the spirit of a community.
I don't know, you're growing up in a small town, you know most of these kids, you know their folks, maybe you know their grandparents. I think that's fabulous.
Small town pride on and off the field.
We've had a lot of good ball players come through on this field and through this field.
Framed on the wall, moments from the big game you could only dream about as a kid.
I think every one of these guys that are on these pictures would tell you how much fun they had getting there.
And the future stepping up to the plate.
I got some big shoes to fill. I know this guy hit back-to-back grand slams and back-to-back at-bats, and it'd be pretty tough to beat that, and I've been chasing it ever since, so.
You got one.
Decades of tradition, family, and community, all revolving around the bases of a children's game. In Hinckley, Alec Ausmus for Eyewitness Sports. A summer in the Northland makes its rounds just as fast as race cars around the track. As the WISSOTA racing season comes to a close, it's been another mechanically devoted summer for the Broking family out of Grand Rapids.
You got to do your homework in the garage, and you got to be dedicated. There's no time for fishing or other things like that when racing's going on, that's for sure.
Consider Bob the middleman of the family. His dad got him into the sport, and Bob passed the love on to his son, making for 3 generations still showing up to the pits on race day. Family comes first, but that doesn't slow down the head-to-head competitiveness during a race.
When you race side by side with your dad, it's neat.
he's another racer on the racetrack, and I mean, obviously, I mean, it's my son, and I'd probably hold back a little bit once in a while, but not as much as I used to, put it that way.
At 20 years old, racing has been a way of life for Johnny Broking, locking on to decades of experience in his genetics.
Like my dad's a big help. He showed me how to like hit the corners and come in hard and how to get through them and when to gas, when not to gas.
Advice backed up by hardware and memories.
These are some of the more recent ones, probably back in the 2000, early 2000 time. And some of these are the ones that I won back in the day. You can see the difference there.
It's a second life with hours spent working on your car. A second life in and out of the pit, but also a family affair that never leaves Victory Lane.
It's a beautiful experience. Yeah, it's something else.
At the racetrack, for Eyewitness Sports, I'm Alec Ausmus.